All right, I'm not even too sure if this is even working. This is probably the dumbest live stream I have ever done, where everything keeps going wrong when I need it to go right. It's telling me that I'm live, but I am not too sure if I am. So, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do this, and if anybody's watching, then they're watching. If they're not watching, they're not watching, and I'm just going to have to leave it at that. And I can understand if nobody's watching, considering all the mishaps that I've had trying to get this going. But I think I got everything as smooth as I possibly can under the circumstances. If I try to get things as smooth as possible, it's going to be like 3 hours from now, and I might as well just end it. And she starts up again. Yep, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this smoothly at all, and I might end up having to completely wipe everything out and start all over, but we'll see. If we'll see. Anyway, to try to get back to where I'd continued from before, I was going to do a live stream, and I'm going to still continue with where is the best place to get sparring weapons and things like that. But considering how things have just not gone according to plan today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue with this as long as I can. I'm guessing I probably have about 45 minutes. But to make up for that, we can go into next week. So I'll do one for today, and then I'll do one for next Sunday. And hopefully things will be proper and smooth next Sunday, and none of this nonsense will happen. But I'm just going to have to make the best with what I got. And I really do apologize for all the interruptions and all the craziness going on. They are playing back there, so you're going to be hearing a little bit of As long as I don't hear any crying, I think everything's going to be okay. But as I said before, the little one's fed, and yeah, I know, but you know, they're playing, and hopefully everything will be okay. The little one's fed and all that, and dressed and things, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I'm going to continue from where I left off, and from that point on, if we have time for questions, we'll do questions, and then next week, Sunday, we can go jump right into questions unless I have another really cool topic. So, and I've already noticed a couple of comments on the older videos, which I don't know if I should leave those up or not, but I'll see. But, oh, the sound seems kind of muted, you said. That's not good. I just tested the mic, and the mic seemed okay, and great. I don't really, I'm afraid to kind of mess with the mic right now, because that was part of the reason why I was late in the first place. That mic was just not working. And now she's starting up again. I swear I can't get this going. I can't get this going today. I swear I can't get this going. And what's really funny about all this, before I even get into you know what? See, this is a comedy live stream. Because I swear, when I have the camera off and the mic is off, it's dead quiet. Everything's going smooth. They're playing, all that type of stuff. As soon as I turn the camera on, chaos. It's like they're waiting. It's like it's just waiting for everything to fall apart. So I don't know how much longer I can do this. So like I said, I'm going to go straight into where you can find some good stuff. If I have time and if I'm able, I'll try to answer questions now. But then we'll do a much bigger and better live stream next Sunday where we can just go straight into it. And then I could probably be on for like an hour or so and then go on with it. So now I got everything set up too. I got my food over here. I thought I was all prepared. Got my freaking, I made it from scratch. Chinese chicken curry, jasmine rice. Got my matcha green tea, mixed it all up. Don't matter now, does it? Okay, so as I said, a viewer of mine was asking about where to find good Chinese martial arts sparring equipment, specifically sparring. I wanted to I'm going to answer the question as best as I can, though I'm also going to talk about places where you can get some good swords as well, because it's been a long time since that information has been needed to be updated. So, but in the other earlier stream before everything went to hell, I mentioned first Scott Riddell's Sparring Gen, which you can find on Cult of Athena. I believe you can find it on Sword Buyer's Guide. At least the last time I checked, it was there. I don't know if he still has it, but I think so. But I know it's in the Cult of Athena, which is probably one of the better places to get swords anyway. Then I talked about some of the stuff you can get from Purple Heart Armory. They do have Chinese-specific sparring weapons there They're all synthetics. They're not wooden, they're not metal, they're all synthetics. If I know some people thumb their noses at synthetics, though personally, I mean, I've worked with some before, though I've worked with the HEMA versions. They weren't all that bad. I mean, they were weighed okay. And I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of the springiness with the blade. I mean, it's going to be, unless you're actually working with metal, it's kind of hard to get that perfect, analog between live steel weapons and, something to spar with. But I remember the little bit I was messing with them. They were an okay substitute. Not perfect, but what is. So if you don't mind synthetics, I would, recommend Purple Heart Armory. The prices aren't bad, comparable to other synthetics, and I know there's a friend of mine actually who gets his HEMA stuff from them, and he's happy with them. That would be Nick, I believe, and he's happy with what he's been able to get from them. Now, another intrepid viewer reminded me of Raven Studios, and those are the guys I was trying to remember when I was talking about the wooden weapons. Which, if I remember correctly, Scott Rodell and his particular sword league, those are the weapons that they were using. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they moved over to the sparring gen that he came up with. I mean, I think ultimately it might be, better, similar to using, HEMA, metal sparring weapons. But if you go more into the wood stuff, or if you can't afford the metal version, these seem to be the next best thing, at least according to, there's some friends of mine who, they swear by these, as far as their training goes. This is the only thing that they will touch. And they have a lot of options. I'm on the website right now, and I mean, you got single-handed versions, double-handed versions, and you even have versions modeled after specific swords. Like my Hanjen over there, they actually have a wooden version of that, and it's not that expensive for a training weapon. $103 for a well-crafted wooden weapon that's actually going to last, as compared to the cheap wooden swords that you can pick up for $20 somewhere at some cheap martial arts mart. Not a bad investment, and the fact that you can actually have it modeled after the weapon you're actually training with, that's a hell of a plus. So if you're willing to work with these, you don't mind doling over a little bit of extra cash, and to be perfectly honest, if you're spending money on sparring gear, you're gonna have to be prepared to spend some cash. I mean, just the helmet and, armor alone, you're setting yourself back right there. So you might as well be willing to spend a bit of extra dosh on some training weapons, some proper ones. And they're not that expensive considering how much they could cost. The Raven ones, I think, are pretty decently priced. Like the Mingjian over here, it's like $94 to $109. You got the Hanjen, which is a double sword one, that's $103 to $123. I'm guessing it's depending on the wood used, and possibly any other options, like what type of tip you want, how long you want the weapon to be, things like that, which seems reasonable to me. So that's another option that I would suggest. Again, I've not used them, so I can't say, I can't say, oh yeah, I've used it myself, 100% stamp of approval. I can't say that. I haven't used them. I've used approximations. Again, synthetics, I've used Purple Heart synthetic HEMA weapons before, because they at the time they didn't have Gen 1s, and that's what my friend had when I was sparring with him way back when I was still living in Indiana. And they seemed okay for me. So I'm assuming that, the Purple Heart ones would be fine. These wooden ones, I can't personally say, but considering that Scott Rodell and his crew were using them for their tournaments all the time, and they, people, and there's another friend of mine who was like, that's the only thing I'll ever use. That's got to be worth something, right? So those are options that you can have. As far as I know, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's probably some other makers out there, but I know that if I wanted to, get myself some stuff, these are the three options I'd look at. I would look at the Scott Rodell Sparring Gen, quite frankly, or the go for one of the Purple Heart synthetics, or the wooden ones. I know personally, if I had the cash, I'd go straight for the Sparring Gen and the wooden ones. And the wooden ones I'd be using for school practice. And then if I was hardcore sparring going to a tournament, then I'd use the Scott Rodell Sparring Gen. That's what I probably would do. But again, this is just me going off my opinions of what looks cool to me, not what I've actually handled. So take that for what it's worth. Now, obviously, if you're training in sword stuff, sooner or later you're going to want to get your hands on the real thing. And just like in the past, there aren't a lot of options. I wish there were, but there are not. But I will say it's a hell of a lot better than when I first got started. Like before, the most you could hope for was some cheap, you know, $30 to $60 so-called Longshuan gin that you picked up at a Chinatown store and hope for the best. And what cracked me up was how naive we were back then. You know, back then, your teacher was like, oh, these are the best swords you can get your hands on. Best spring steel swords. Beat anything that was made in antiquity. And we didn't know any better. So we're thinking, wow, I'm able to get a sword that's equal to the antiquity swords for $100 at the most. This is awesome. And they were crap. You know, the tangs were rat tail, the steel was too soft, you know, the freaking handles rattled, you know, it was horrible. And it kind of still is, but we have better options. There's at least 2 places I would recommend to you right now. If you want it, well, sort of 3. I'm going to say 2, but sort of 3, because the third option is sort of like a middleman, and it's the ultimate middleman. And I might as well just spit it out right now. Cult of Athena. If you don't really want to do a whole lot of research, you just want to look, I'm just looking for something good. Somebody already did the work for me. Go to Cult of Athena, look at their Chinese section. You're bound to find something that's going to work for you. They did the homework for you so that you wouldn't have to, you know? Now, then there are the options that I would choose. Now, the first place I would choose is a place that I already have chosen. It's where I'd gotten my gen last year. And that would be Sino Sword. Now, I'm calling them Sino Sword right now because that's the name of their website, okay? When you type down the URL, it's www.sinosword.com. But when you go to the site, it says JKOO. So I guess either one works. You want to call it JKO sword or Ku sword or however you're supposed to pronounce it, go with that. But I just say Sino sword because it's easier to say. It's what the URL is. I'm probably dead wrong, but yeah. I have not been let down by them yet. You know, the latest gen I'd gotten from them, which, hold on for a second. Got too much crap around, I swear. Okay, so this one, and those of you who remember my channel may remember this one. I recently polished it, oiled it a couple of days ago. It's still holding up fine. I mean, I haven't been able to cut anything because where I live right now, I'm not going to be cutting bottles in front of the main street. That's a good way for, you know, the police to roll up. But when I was cutting with this, it's fine. I still practice with it. The weight is, you know, obviously it's not like the weight's going to change. It's still amazing to me every time I pull this thing out, just how well balanced it is. It almost feels like nothing when I'm whipping this thing around. And this thing weighs like 2 pounds, 6 ounces, 2 pounds, 7 ounces, something like that. Well, maybe not that heavy, but it's... Go back to my video when I'm reviewing this. I got the exact specs there. But it does not feel like it's 2 pounds. It feels like my Adam Sealjan over there. Like it really feels like it's like a 1 pound or something, but it's not. That's how well balanced it is. The edge is ridiculously sharp. The steel is good spring steel. In fact, it's the type of spring steel that I've been saying that they should have been using for Gen since the beginning. For those of you who remember Chines, they make budget katana for people who want to, you know, train in Japanese sword arts and cutting arts and stuff like that. And Chines is specifically marketed to people who are like, look, I want a katana, but I'm not willing to spend $1,000 on it. So they sell theirs for like $250, $300, around that. I don't think I've ever seen one past $300. And the metal that they like to work with is, give me a moment to remember, 9260 spring steel because of how resilient it is. This is made of the same steel, and I can tell you it's good stuff. It holds an edge pretty well. It's very resilient. Even with a bad cut, you're not going to end up with a set. And I've been saying for years, they need to start making Chinese weapons out of those, not just katana. And I've been told by other people, nah, T10 is fine. You know, 1092 is fine. You don't think, I'm like, you need something resilient. It's not like, you know, only the Japanese guys have to worry about bad cuts or need resilient blades. And considering that people keep saying that gens need a little bit of flex, well, here you go, right? Finally, somebody realized that, and yeah, they're making swords with this. They got other models that are, you know, as cheap or a little bit cheaper, or if you want to spend even more money, if you just look at the site and look at their gen section, there's a lot of great stuff there. They also got a lot of dough. By the way, speaking of Dao, I should have talked about this before. I don't really see too much for sparring for Dao. I mean, if you go that one old video of mine where I talked about that one black sparring, practice Dao I have, that one with a decent weight. Okay, there's that. And I know Purple Heart Armory has at least one, or no, there's two training Dao that you can use. That's about it. I don't see any good heavyset wooden ones. I think I know typical martial arts places have those wooden Dao, but they're not nearly as flimsy as the Gen, so I guess you can get away with those. But as far as I know, they don't really have anything, you don't really see much in the way of that. So, yeah, it's even slimmer pickings. I'm sorry for that if that's the route you're taking. But as far as, actual Dao to, like, I'm going to, learn to cut with it, I'm going to train with a live weapon. Again, Sino Sword / JKOO Sword, they got some good Dao at good prices. They got good Zen at good prices. If you're into the katana stuff, they make those as well. The Chinese-made katanas. But I will say, their Chinese-made katanas are actually pretty good. Those I've actually handled. And, yeah, I was surprised at the quality of how good they are. Now, there is a caveat, and I mentioned this in my review for this. They need to tighten up their quality control. I'll say a good 8 times out of 10, you order something from them, it's going to be good. But then there's that last 2 chance, that 9-10, that 20% chance. You're going to get something, there's going to be something off. The blade might not be perfectly straight, or the polish may not be so good, or, there's going to be something every now and then. It's rare, but it happens. The good thing about it, however, is that they usually are willing to work with you about it. If you get a piece of junk and you're like, what the hell? You can usually send it back. I mean, the last time I checked, and again, please excuse the loudness, they're playing back there. Boy, are they playing back there. But at least it's not crying. Not usually, like this one is not perfect. I mean, I love, for usability and just for training purposes, I love this thing. But there are a few things that are slightly off about it. Just very slightly off. And I mentioned it in the other video. I don't really need to get into it here. But there's a couple of things about it that are slightly uneven. Like at least the blade is perfectly straight and is perfectly lined up with the handle and all that. That's not the worry. But there's just a couple little imperfections here and there that some other place like Hanwei would have polished out. And that is my advice to them. Like, they need to tighten up their quality controls. That every now and then you get something that's like, really? Pay $300 for this? Like, that's, something like that. But most of the time, it's good stuff. So, that was the one place. Now, the other place is a place that I haven't ordered from yet, but I'm planning to when I get the dosh together. And that's WLE.com. Now, this is a store that was actually recommended to me by a couple of other Chinese martial artists before I even found JKOO / Sino Sword. And it started, WLE stands for Wing Lam Enterprises. Wing Lam was, because unfortunately he died this year, he was a well-known Chinese martial artist, very traditionally minded, and he was all about like traditional training, hardcore training, like, if you're going to train to fight, train to freaking fight. And he was one of those people that was frustrated with the fact that a lot of the weapons that you train with in Chinese martial arts are crap. And not only that, even if you got a somewhat decent one, they're weighed wrong, they're balanced wrong. They don't, you don't feel like you're holding a weapon. So he just got sick of it and started importing swords from other, like, traditional Chinese forges. And it's like, look, these weapons are going to be properly weighed and properly balanced and all that type of stuff. And that did not sound good. That does not sound good. Please tell me she's going to calm down. I'm going to have to cut this short again. Part of it is also she's really tired. She did not take her nap today, so. And again, I apologize for that. Okay, she's fine, but I'm going to have to cut this short soon. I will try to leave this floor open for a few questions, though, so don't worry about that. I won't just cut out on you. But yeah, basically, WLE.com is just basically full of training equipment for Chinese martial artists. There's, the typical stuff you tend to see in an online martial arts store. Like, you'll see your cheap crap. You'll see your usual stuff. You'll see your DVDs. You'll see your, cheap cotton kung fu uniforms. And I think they may even have some, karate stuff, the ninja stuff. But there are some diamonds hidden here. There's some really good stuff. And in particular with the Chinese stuff, my suggestion, go straight to the combat steel section. And I know combat steel is a badly used term in Chinese martial arts. you know, from the old days onward. But these are actually worth their salt from at least what a couple of people have told me. Again, these aren't exactly what I would use. Like the combat steel section is not exactly what I would use for like cutting practice or live steel sharpened and stuff like that. These are more like higher end training swords. Like this is the type of stuff that you're gonna be training your forms with, doing your drills with, possibly some light sparring with if you're sure you're not gonna whack each other over the head with a slightly sharpened metal object. But from what I've heard, they're solidly constructed and they tend to be fairly cheap. Like there's one that I'm planning on getting my hands on from them sooner or later that's just under $100. And I've been meaning to get my hands on it. I want to try it out. I'm hoping that it's pretty good. And if it is, well, there we go. I know other places, like other people have sworn by their weapons. They're like, this is shit. You got to try this stuff out. And okay, you know, one of these days I'll try it out. But I'm tentatively recommending it to you guys because one, it was started by a trusted martial artist in the community. There are other masters who swore by the store. It's like what they, you know, sent their students to get their stuff. I've had a couple of friends tell me that the stuff is worth it. So, and I'm planning on grabbing something myself. Now, if I do grab something and it ends up being a piece of crap, I'll be the first to tell you. But for now, I can say that from what I've heard, there's good stuff. Plus, if you're willing, if you got the money, they do have their Damascus. Sorry for the, you know, we know how badly abused that term is, but there's Damascus section. That's where you get some of the better stuff. It is higher end. You know, you're spending around $600, $800. But I just recently checked the website out, and they've slashed prices. Like stuff that used to be $675, now I'm seeing it for $325. So if you got the money, now might be a really good time to get a pretty decent sword from them. You know, for $310, you know, something that's sharpened, well made, you know, got the wavy lines and all that. If that's what you wanted to get your hands on, this is a good option, I guess. Hopefully, I mean, it's supposed to be really good stuff. And again, people have told me that the stuff is worth it. There is another section, but that's like their really high-end section. So, because those are the premium quality ones. Those are the ones that is like, ooh, that's a lot of money. But, you know, if you're willing to spend the money on that, like the Tai Chi's also, the Damascus steel ones, and then the premium quality ones. Yeah, the premium quality ones, that's the stuff that's going to set you back around $1,000. Yeah, you're looking at $1,000. But I think it is a good sign that they have these different levels of quality with their weaponry. Like, you got your basic level training stuff, and then when you're a little bit intermediate, you're willing to spend money on a real sword for the first time, here's our like $300 line, though it used to be their $600 line. I'm thinking the online market forced them to slash those prices. Thank gods. But then you got your $300 line, and then if you're like really serious into it, and you got cash to burn, then you can go to their premium section. So that's one place that I can also kind of recommend if you're looking for real swords. Yeah, Wing Lam, that was it. Wing Lam. I just noticed it in chat. Let me just type it down in chat also. It's WLE.com. Just go right there and have a look, I guess. I kind of wish that the site was a little bit better organized, but you can pretty much find what you're looking for with some diligence. If you're into straight weapon, straight swords, look at you can just simply click on combat steel weapons and you'll get the line that I would suggest you start with. Stay away from the wushu stuff. We know it sucks. Just don't bother. Go straight to their combat steel weapons and go on from there. Either through the menu bar on the left-hand side, or if you go to the top, you just go straight to swords. And then you can just like pick, combat straight swords or Damascus steel swords or, the premium quality ones. And you just look on from there. Now, the third option that just occurred to me, besides, I was going to say Cult of Athena because, again, they do a lot of the homework for us. They just happen to pick and choose from different companies, which are the ones that are worth buying, and then just go to the site and go from there. And that's what I recommend if somebody just doesn't want to waste their time. Like, is this good? Is this not good? Just go there. Just go to, Cult of Athena. But I noticed that they have a lot of stuff from a company, at least for the Chinese stuff, they have stuff from a company called Iron Tiger, which I had never heard of. And I was seriously considering picking up one of those to review a while back. And then somebody told me, these weapons are a little too heavy. You don't waste your time. And I ended up getting this instead, and I haven't regretted it. But more and more people have been telling me, the Iron Tigers are worth it. And recently, somebody had sent me a message on my channel that Iron Tiger is indeed a legit company. It's a straight up Chinese company, and they even have their own website. I would be sending you the link to that website, but it's all in Chinese. So unless you can read that, good luck navigating through it. But I will say that there is a lot of nice looking stuff there. It looks like it's somewhat decent quality. The Chinese, the higher end Chinese weapon market is starting to get more and more competitive. So we're starting to see less and less crappy quality control and less like garbage being masqueraded as weapons. So there is a good chance that they're selling decent stuff also. And then if you go to the main, their actual website, and you can navigate through the Chinese and be able to translate, you know, their currency to US or wherever you happen to be and figure it out, maybe it might be worth directly importing from them. I honestly couldn't say because I haven't done it. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not gonna do it until there's an English option, especially when I already got a couple of other options, but it might be worth something. At least the website itself is interesting to look at because I've seen certain designs on that website for swords that I haven't seen anywhere else. So if you're a sword nut like me, it might be worth something to, you know, just to check out. By the way, this matcha is good. I know I'm rambling now, and I'm sorry about that, but this matcha is really good. Our guy had recently mixed it up, got all the frothy stuff like that, and it's like, you know, the matcha is really good when it froths up really well when you mix it, and it has that slightly sweet taste to it. You didn't add any sugar, no nothing, but there's that slightly sweet taste and that fresh, light, almost like you're drinking life itself. Like, yeah, that's this stuff. So freaking good. All right. Enough of that. I think as far as what I know and what I would personally consider choosing from is for sparring / training weapons / real weapons for Chinese martial arts, those are the options I would suggest because those are the ones I would go for myself. If there are other ones, I don't know about them or I probably think they suck. But yeah, that's what I would suggest. Those are the options I would suggest. So hopefully later this evening after the live stream's over, I can go directly into the video description and just put links on there for you guys to go directly to. But for you guys who are live right now, you know, part of the call right now, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean. Hopefully you got that information. And that's that. So now I'm going to go through the questions. And even though things have now calmed down and I think I can stay for like about maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes answering questions, considering how messy this was, again, next Sunday, I'll try to make up for it. We'll just go straight into Q&A. All right? But for now, let's see if I can start going into some questions. And let's start scrolling down a little bit. Let's see. Have I looked into... This is from... my tongue is tripping up. Belyayev Fox. He's asking... She's asking, I don't know who, whatever. Have I looked into how Vincetio, Savolio, Gilbert Tybalt, and Spanish-style rapier works? And are there any similarities and differences compared to Baguazhang? Okay. This, to me, is a decent question / an odd question. I'll go straight into why I find it an odd question, because you're talking about rapier styles, and then you're asking how it compares to Baguazhang, and Baguazhang is not a sword style. It's a barehanded style. I mean, they do train in weapons. There are specific weapons that you train in Baguazhang, but it's what some people would call a complete system. You got barehand, you got, you know, grappling, you got, you know, spear, you got broadsword. Boy, did they got a broadsword. You got, you know, the straight sword, and you even have some unique weapons like the deer hook antler knives and the dark judge brushes. You got all this stuff in Baguazhang. Whereas when you start talking about, you know, these other guys like, you know, Tybalt and so on, it's just rapier. Excuse my ignorance, if they talk barehand, you know, let me know. But as far as I know, they don't really have stuff like that. Oh, you're talking about circular movement. Okay. That I honestly could not say. I have not really researched Tybalt all that much. The only Italian-style rapier person that I kind of looked into and I was intrigued by was Capofera. And considering, you know, his straight line approach to fighting, his, you know, avoidance of cuts, I just thought it was interesting. I even have a manual somewhere on his stuff. But I've been talking so much, my food's starting to get cold. But as far as Tybalt and the other guys, I haven't. But I'd be very interested in checking it out. Because one thing I do believe is that when you start getting into fighting arts, like real fighting arts, no matter how much we talk about differences, you find that there's a lot more similarities and differences in effective fighting. There's only so much you can do to fight effectively. Are you going to be, and then there's even so many ways you can attack a person. Are you coming at them on a straight line? Are you coming at them on a slant? Are you coming at them from an oblique and a curve? Like, there's only so many ways. And if I'm attacking you, I can either go at you in a straight line, or I can come around. What else can I possibly do? I mean, I can go straight up, I can go up and down, but even up or down, am I going up and down at you straight, or am I coming at you at a curve? Hold on for a second. There's a little one that just ran in here. I'll be right back.